everyone, welcome back to Glue La La. If you are new here, my name is Jess, and on my channel I like to create home decor on a budget using items found at the Dollar Tree. If that sounds fun to you, I'd love it if you would hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future videos. And make sure you say hi in the comments. If you are already subscribed, welcome back and let me know how your week is going so far. I always love chatting with you in the comments. Today I have 3 Spring Farmhouse DIYs. All 3 of the projects today use canvases that you can find at the Dollar Tree. My personal style is farmhouse, but you can always change up the paint color or the embellishments to make these fit your home's decor. Alright everyone, let's get started. For the first project, I'm going to be using one of these 6x8 canvases that you can find at the Dollar Tree. Now the canvas part of these frames is always pretty easy to remove. I usually just run my utility knife around the edges and then I can kind of peel off the main part of the canvas, and then sometimes I have to use my pliers to peel off the extra strips that are on the back. Now for this project, the staples weren't going to be in my way, so I didn't bother taking those out. So once I had all of the canvas removed, I'm using the Truffle color by Waverly, and I just gave this one coat on all of the sides except for the back side because I knew you wouldn't be able to see that. So I did the front and the inside and the outside, but I only gave it one coat because it had a pretty good coverage and I didn't mind if a little bit of the wood grain showed through. And then I also took one of these 6-inch dowel rods that you can also find at the Dollar Tree, and I also gave that one coat of the same truffle color. To create the box for the front of the frame, I couldn't find anything with the right dimensions, so I just decided to create a box out of paper. I cut a piece of cardstock down to 8 inches by 3 inches, and then I measured out a 1-inch border on all 4 sides. Now, if you're a paper crafter and you have a scoreboard, this is pretty easy for you. You can just use your scoreboard to measure out the 1-inch border, but if you don't have one, it's okay. You can just use a ruler like I am to fold up all the sides. And then I used my ruler too to make sure that those creases were really in place so that the box would have a nice sturdy form to it. Once everything was folded down, you can see here the vertical lines on each of the short ends. I'm just going to cut up and then at an angle. So once I had the line cut up, then I cut from an angle, and it's just to take a little bit of that bulk out so that when we fold it up there won't be any extra pieces there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other short side. You're going to cut straight up and then the outside pieces are going to form an angle. So to form the box, I'm using the art glitter glue because this is my favorite glue for paper crafting. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on one tab and fold the other outside tab over it. And then the middle tab will cover both of those. And then we'll do that on the other side too, where we put a little bit of glue on one of the outside tabs, put the other outside tab over it, and then put a little bit of glue on both of those, and the center tab will cover that up. And that's how the box is formed for the front of the frame. Now to make this a little bit sturdier, I got these jumbo craft sticks from Walmart, and these measure about 1 inch wide, which is why I decided that box needed to have that 1-inch border. And then I just cut all of these pieces down to fit the box. So to fit this box, you'll need 3 of the craft sticks cut down to 6 inches, and then you'll need a 4th craft stick, and you're going to want to cut 2 pieces that measure out to be 1 inch by 1 inch. Once all of the craft sticks were cut down to size, I just used hot glue to attach them to the box. So the 3 long sticks that I cut will go on the front, the back, and the bottom of the box, and then the 2 short pieces will just go on each end. I also gave that little box one coat of the truffle color as well. Once all of the pieces had dried, I just used the Mineral Color by Waverly, and I just did a little bit of dry brushing on all 3 of the pieces. So I just took a little bit of the Mineral Color and I dabbed most of the excess off onto a paper towel, and then I just ran the dry brush over all of the pieces just to give it a little bit of a distressed look. Then to connect the box to the bottom of the frame, I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue to keep it in place. And I always like to use the Gorilla glue sticks because I think they kind of hold up better over time. Now the dowel rod is just a little bit too big for the inside of this frame, so I'm just using my pencil to mark where it needs to be, and then I'm using my miter shears to cut it off. To make the curtains for the inside of this little window frame, I took a pack of these lace doilies from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just using my rotary cutter to kind of cut off the rounded edges of the doily. I didn't measure this out, I just kind of eyeballed it, but once I had all the rounded parts of the doily cut off, it was actually pretty much a perfect fit for what I needed for the inside of the window. So once I had the edges cut off and I just had this little square piece left, I just used my rotary cutter to cut it in half, and that's going to create 2 little curtain panels. So I used my ruler just to kind of give me a guide, and I measured about 1.5 inches from the one end, and then I folded it over and I added a little bit of hot glue, and that created the channel that I needed to be able to run the dowel rod through. And then I repeated that with the second panel also. Once I had both of the little mini curtain panels on the dowel rod, I just used a little bit of hot glue to attach the rod to the top of the inside of the frame. I made sure that the hot glue had really set in place before I moved on, but to make these look more like curtains, I decided to use 2 lengths of some jute twine, and I just gathered each curtain up in the middle and I tied it with the jute. That way it kind of made it look like a little tie back curtain. To finish off this little mini window flower box, I just filled the inside of the box with some floral foam, and then I added a little bit of floral moss on the top of it, and then I dug through my flower stash and I picked out some nice springy flowers, and I just decorated the front of the flower box with some spring flowers. I love how this little window frame turns out, and I have to tell you, I actually woke up from a dead sleep the one night with this idea in my head. I just think it's so funny that my crafting is interfering with my sleep now. You'll have to let me know in the comments if that's ever happened to you. The second project is a pretty easy one. I'm going to use one of these 8x10 canvases to create a little decorative tray. And I did the same thing where I cut the canvas from the frame, but this time I did use a little screwdriver and a pair of pliers to remove all of the staples from the back of the frame. And then I did use my sanding block because this frame for some reason had a lot of rough edges on it. So I'm using these giant craft sticks that you can find at Walmart, and I just measured them to fit the length of the frame. I cut them just a tad short so that they wouldn't stick out from the back. So they're probably cut down maybe 1/8 of an inch shorter than the width of the frame. And I needed 8 sticks altogether to fill in the back of the frame. Once I had everything cut down to size, I took this plaster color by Waverly and I gave the frame itself one good coat of paint. And it kind of looks like there's little staples there, but there weren't staples in there. They were just kind of indents. If that's something that it bothers you, you could always fill that in with a little bit of wood filler, but it really didn't bother me. I thought it was kind of a neat little design. Then, because this is for spring, I'm using 3 Waverly colors in Pool, Ballet Slipper, and Cashew. And I guess I forgot to record me actually painting those, but you get the idea. I painted 3 in the blue, 3 in the pink, and 2 in the Cashew color. Then I'm just using the same plaster color that I used to paint the tray, and I'm just dry brushing that on all 8 of the sticks. Once all of the paint had dried, I started hot gluing the sticks onto the back of the frame. And I did them in the same pattern where I went blue, pink, and then, well, the Cashew color, I guess it's kind of yellow. It looks kind of yellow on camera. And I just repeated that the whole way across the back of the frame. And you can see, because these sticks are cut pretty close to the edge of the frame, I didn't feel the need to add any kind of backing to this, because this is just a decorative tray. It's not meant to hold any weight or to be picked up or anything like that. It's just something to look nice. So I took some of this faux leather ribbon that I found at the Dollar Tree, and I had some little brads in my stash, and I used wire cutters to cut off the ends of the brads, and then I used some pliers just to kind of tuck the edges in. And I'm using my ruler here to help me find the center of the frame so that I could glue the ribbon down and have it be the same on both sides. And when I glued the ribbon down, I wanted it to look like a handle. So I glued one edge down, and then I kind of lifted it up with my finger a little bit so it formed a loop, and then I glued the other side down. And then I just hot glued the brads right on top of each edge of the ribbon, just to kind of look like maybe it had been nailed into place. And that's how easy it is to create a tray using a canvas from the Dollar Tree. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you think. And I get a lot of questions about these wooden beads. I have them linked in my description box. They're from Amazon. It's a really big bag of wooden beads, and I just strung it onto some jute, and I created little tassels with the same jute. Okay, so for the last project, now we have some leftover pieces of canvas, so we're going to create another sign just using the canvas. And this is the canvas that came off of the 8x10 frame. And what I'm doing is I'm just cutting a little slit and then tearing the canvas, and I started pulling out some of the threads that ran vertical just to create a frayed edge on both sides. And then, because there is a little crease in the canvas where it wrapped around the frame, I'm just cutting that off just to give it a little bit of a cleaner edge. Now, using 2 of these giant craft sticks again, I just took 2 of these out and I measured it to fit just slightly past the edge of each side of the canvas. And that's going to create kind of like the banner edge that we'll need for the top and the bottom of this sign. And the canvas itself actually has 2 sides to it. One side is kind of a plain white, and the other side kind of looks more like a linen. And I'm creating my sign on the linen side. So then each of the craft sticks, I just gave 1 coat of the truffle color by Waverly, and then I went in and dry brushed with the mineral color, just because it kind of tied in with the first project that I did. Then I used a little bit of hot glue and I ran it along the edge of the canvas, and I just hot glued the stick into place. And you can see here I put the glue on the stick instead of the canvas, so I had to use my silicone mat because a little bit of it oozed out. And I found these really pretty wall decor stickers at the Dollar Tree. And I'm adding just a little bit of that art glitter glue to the back of it because it felt sticky, but because I'm putting it on material, I wanted it to have a little bit better of a hold. So I just wanted to add a little bit of extra glue. And then for spring, the Dollar Tree had these really pretty galvanized metal word signs. So I'm using the word spring. And I'm using some of this foam mounting tape from the Dollar Tree, and this is actually made by the Super Glue brand, so it sticks pretty well. I've used it in the past, and I've really had good luck with it. And I'm just cutting the little rectangles down into shorter strips so that they fit on the back of the letters. And then every couple of pieces of foam, I just added a little dot of hot glue just to help really keep this sign into place. And then I do have a Cricut, so I cut out the word hello with my Cricut, but you could always use letter stickers, or if you're really good at hand lettering, this would be really pretty if you decided to hand letter with some fabric paint or even a paint marker, but I'm not good at hand lettering, so I always use my Cricut whenever I need some kind of lettering done. And the font that I used on this is the typewriter font. So to dress this up just a little bit more, I'm using this thicker jute twine that I found at Walmart. And I started out by gluing it on the back, and I just wrapped it around twice, but I made sure that it kind of crossed over on itself in the front, so it formed a little bit of an X in the front. And I repeated that on the top and the bottom. Then to dress it up just a little bit more, I took 2 lengths of the same jute twine and I just tied a simple shoelace bow, and I hot glued that into the center of the top where the 2 pieces crisscrossed. I really love how this sign turned out, and I was really glad that I could find a way to actually use the canvas too, because I use a lot of the frames, but I don't always come up with ways to actually use the canvas. If you're on social media, I am on Instagram at GlueLaLa. So if you ever decide to recreate any of my projects, make sure you tag me in it so I can see it too. And here's a final look at all of the projects I did today. I think my favorite is probably this little window frame with the flower box. I just think it's so cute, and I really love how the curtains turned out on it. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you like these projects, make sure you hit that thumbs up button because it really does help my channel to grow. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss my future videos. I post a new DIY every Wednesday. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye!